This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, anyways, so what we were discussing in the last session, I think I discussed about a file concept, right? File module concept, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, today we'll start with one more type of integration that is like a system-based integration, I can say, which I'm going to connect with a external database from your Mule application.
Sujit, you said that you'll cover the write in
Oh, right, it's not
file-based.
done.
No, it's not done.
Oh, sorry then. I will be completing everything in one go. I thought, sorry for that. On the day time not permits or not. Okay, so I think we completed these parts, right? So let's assume it's a small thing. Okay, I'll let you know. For example, let's take your API is created with a requirement like when client is sending the request, you want to fetch the details and you want to write some data to a particular file. That is a requirement. And the file is also CSV file. You want to write data to CSV file. Okay, so let's take we completed some API with a endpoint like slash right. As I told, endpoints, uh, file endpoints are blind. When you are using right component, it is better to define the schema before writing the data to a before writing to a file, because write knows only to write to which file you need to write. You need to define the path and what type of structure you want to write. You need to define the schema, the structure by using the transform message, right? So just whatever the body you are getting in the event, that will be written to the file what you mentioned in the configuration. So client is sending something this request. According to this request, there are some query parameters, right? So from these query parameters, I need to fetch the values and I want to write to products.csv file. That is the requirement. So I need to create one schema with the columns like product id. Instead of product id, his requirement is he want to write a file like pid, pname and pprice. So I need to extract the values from these query parameters and then I need to write to the product.csv file. It's very simple. How to write it? Already I'm using some configuration right there. So first of all, what is the configuration I need to do? HTTP listener, isn't it? And I asked about some task also to everyone, understanding about one more strategy while you're reading the file. Uh, Watermark concept. What is that? What is the strategy I asked you to go through? I explained about a modified timestamp,
Created timestamp.
created timestamp. Is it done?
I've done it, but
Mm,
it processed once. I couldn't understand the concept though.
that's it,
But
no?
yeah,
Created.
it just
Modified means what? If you do modifications in the file, automatically the file will be processed because it will tally the timestamp against the timestamp of the file. But when you use a created timestamp, the file will be processed for the one time and it will log the timestamp with the name, right? When you try to process the same file again, even though you do modifications, even though timestamp is changed, the file will not be processed again. That's what you might have observed if you tried it.
yes, yes.
That's it. That's what the observation I want you to, right? So everyone who want to not participate, I mean who practiced, please try with that option one more time and have an observation over there, right? So I used a HTTP listener here, and what is the structure of an event after the listener? If client is sending this request as an input,
Method should be post
why post?
because you're trying to pass some value to edit it, right?
No, no, no. I mean, it's here. It is not. My listener is going to listen to this request, right? It could be get or post. Nothing. It is not going to differ. If you are posting any data through the body, then I should have used the post method. It's fine. But here, not required because we are going to send a request to the listener. Listener is listening to the request and converts into event. In the header part itself, I'm sending attributes for the
Okay.
same.
Okay.
Sorry. So this is the request. I want to send this request to my application. You know the event structure is with the query parameters, no payload, no variables, right? Now let's take, I'm using a write component here under the file. I'm using a write component. Okay, so what are the configurations we have in the write component? So under the basic settings, can I use the same setting like earlier? C colon files. Under the files, I want, let's go to my C drive. Is there any other folder in the files? Let's create one folder with a name output. I want to create, I want to create one file, and that file I want to store in the output folder, uh, and then I want to write the data to that file. So under the C colon files, which general setting is to the particular flow. So under the C colon files, what is the path? Yes, please participate. Output is the path where I want to write, and which file I want to give some name like products. File name is products. What type of file it is? Give the extension dot
That
CSV file. So whatever the payload we have, that I can write to product.csv file. Write mode. You can override the data if it is already exist. If you want to append the data, you can append. But creating a new, it will create a new file. Since I don't have any file, I want to create a new file over there, and then I want to write the payload into the products.csv file. But tell me, what is the payload value here? What is the payload value?
empty payload,
Empty.
right?
Empty payload, right? So only I have a query parameter attributes. So can I use a transform message before the write component here? So what happens in this case when you use the write, when you use a transform message? What type of input we are getting? HTTP related attributes, right? So I am going to extract this query parameter attributes, and then I want to write to a CSV file. So directly you can write a CSV here, and you can write a data view expressions. I will show you another way how you can define the metadata for an output part, the schema, right? I will show you when I talk about the transformation part. I will show you how to write a how to define the input parameter by the payload, how to give a metadata for an input payload, right? So let's, as of now, since I'm going to extract a value from the query parameters, I don't require to give any payload value in the input part. So metadata or schema. So I want to write some data to a CSV file in a CSV format, right? So define metadata. I want to define one schema, define metadata. So add file. We are going to create a new file, right? What is the new file name? You can give any file name. This is not an extension, just a type. Product CSV is a type. So what type of file you want to create, you need to select from the drop down. It will support wide variety of files here. So you want to create what type of file, what type of schema you want to create, you need to select from the tree. So it is going to show from the drop down. From the drop down, you need to select it. So what type of file you want to create? These many types of files you can create. I'm going to show you how to create a JSON file, how to create an XML file in the transformation part. Right now I want to go with a CSV type, right? So right now I have a, I mean, what are the first lines you need to include in as a headers? You need to include what? Three column names I need to give. So what could be the three column names? What are the three? Product ID, product price, and a product name, right? So I will map to my own format, PID, P price. You can define any data type for that matters, P price, P name. So you can define any data type. It's up to you. So now click on OK. What happens here? What is the what is the output schema I am going to trying to create? CSV is a collection of all the records, right? It could be array of object, right? So PID, P price, and P name. Now from where I need to fetch that product ID, product name, and product price?
Query parameters.
From
Query parameters.
query params, right? If input and output metadata types are loaded, you don't need to write any data view expressions here. Simply drag and drop. I think we already seen about this drag and drop option in our previous module. Anyone remember which
Yes.
module it is?
Soup.
In
No, no,
So
Java.
no, no,
Java
not soup.
module
Java model.
in
Yeah.
Java, right? So right now I'm going to extract the query parameter value, and I want to save it under a variable called PID. How many times? 3 times, right? So automatically it is converted into CSV with the output pipe, right? Because the output metadata type is given as a CSV. So query params dot is a PID, product ID is the key for that. Access, product price is the key. So basically you need to think in which perspective. If you are in a mule application, if you think in an event perspective, everything will be very easy here, right? So can I, so what is the payload right now? After this transformer, what is the payload? This product ID, PID, P name, and P price values in a CSV
Yes.
format will be the payload in the event, right? That payload value I'm writing to products.csv file in the path output. Let's deploy this application and see. Since I'm using a listener, I will get a response at a client level also here. At the same time, I should create one file in the output folder also. Right now it is an empty. Just write knows how to write the data. Better to create a schema before giving the data to the CSV file. So what is the meaning of this pop-up? Anyone remember?
Mule
Clearing the
debugger,
cache.
right?
No?
No, no, no. Clear application. The run configuration where you have that option to
What is this? What is this configuration is about? Why we need to clear the application data?
the object store.
Yeah. So I told when I discuss about modified timestamp, according along with that, you may have some other requirements also in the development environment. So if you want to clear the application data every time, and if you want to redeploy this application as a fresh application, every time you cannot go to object store clearing the cache memory, right? So if you use this option, it will ask you, if you click on this, it is going to create a new as a new application. It is going to deploy as a new application. So no one practiced apart from one. Yeah, Nisha, can't hear anything from your side. Manju, no voice at all. So meanwhile, how many of you have MySQL on your systems?
I
MySQL.
don't have.
Okay. So once I get an output, I'll talk about that. Yeah, here I got the value output file at 721 right now. Is it created? Products.csv file got created. So basically, if you open that, the data is written to the CSV file here. What are the values? 123,000 and a HP. Right now, 721 is the timeline. Correct? Guys, understood?
Yes.
So please practice that. Okay. Actually, I supposed to talk about that in the previous session only. Time maybe not. Time is not permitted. Actually, I will do it everything in a single go. And the day it has taken a lot of time for me to discuss about the file in starting itself. Okay. Anyways, so let's start with one more type of integration: database integration, system-based integration. I can say. Okay. So in order to work on this database, I required some database to be installed on our machine, right? We are using MySQL as a database product. Okay, and this MySQL, which version? 8 version. In that 8, you can use any minor version. It is defined like this: 8.0 from 17 to 33 is the latest one, right? If you directly go to the website, if you download, it will be 33. I have given one installer on your softwares folder. It is 19. Anything you can use, but it should be 8 version only. Remember that part. MySQL 8 version. So you can use any YouTube video in order to install it. It's very self-explanatory. I have given the installer. Just double click on that. It will start installing the process. But while installing that, you need to remember few things. What are that few things actually? First, it will ask for the products. What and all of the products you want to install. Please go ahead with all the products. Especially they should be server and there should be workbench. Ensure that these two are installed. Okay, it will show the progress bar option also, whether it is installing or not. That is one. And the role it will ask for, you can give as a developer, right? Next, while installing, it will give the, by default it is installed on 3306 port number. You can use that. Okay, if you are changing this port number, please remember that port number. Okay, next. Next, um, password. It asks for whether you want to create a password by using a legacy password system or new password system. Go with a legacy password, which is very easy. Since we don't have any sensitive data here, not required to go with the new. It is a little bit critical. If you remember if you forgot the password, also very critical to get it. So go with the legacy password. And username and password, I recommend you to give as a root. Less chances of forgetting the password, right? Username as root. Mainly this one and these three are very important to remember, because based on this only we are going to connect with the external database from our mule application or from a local UI. Okay, and it will ask for the startup type. You want automatic or a manual? So go with automatic. Whenever your laptop starts, automatically behind the scene the server will be started and up and running. So otherwise you don't want that. If you want to consume less memory, so then you can go with the manual. Whenever explicitly you want to start the server, then only you need to go and start manually. Okay, so where you can see all this, for example, you already installed your on your machine. If you already installed, how to check whether the server is running on your machine or not? Whatever you install on your operating system, it will be treated as what? Whatever you install, it is a service. So services.msc, just click on that. It will list all the services what you have. It will list all the services. What is my service? MySQL is a service. You can see MySQL 80. So the default name is MySQL 80. So you can see the startup type I have given an automatic, and the status is what? Running. If I want to stop that, you can see the option called stop. By using that, you can stop the service. Okay, similarly, if it's already stopped, you can start by using a start. Okay, that's it. So I already installed MySQL server on my machine. So MySQL. Can you please name other database vendors which are there in the market, which is more popular?
Postgres.
Postgres, okay.
Oracle DB,
Oracle DB.
Cassandra,
What is it?
Cassandra,
Okay.
MongoDB.
MongoDB. Mhm. Most popularly used Oracle DB, MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Derby, right? These are the four major, right? Out of this, MySQL is a open source, right? It's a free. So that's why we are using a MySQL. Internally, MuleSoft is also using a MySQL itself. Okay. Of course, in this MySQL, which version we are going to talk about? 8. In that 8.0.19 or 33. It's up to you which one you want. Okay. Let's assume in my machine I install MySQL 8 version, and in that MySQL server there is one schema. I created one schema. That means the database name I will give as Mule Training DB. Mule Training DB is the one. Okay, Mule Training DB. So in that Mule Training DB, we have a product table. Let's take in this database, I have one table called product. We have some values inside that, some rows and a columns which will have some product details. Okay, this is my database. And some values also present here. Now my requirement is I want to read all the data. See, and my intention is not talk about about SQL queries. No, you should have some idea. You can work on that. How I'm going to use a small query, simple query. You can use other queries also in the same fashion, right? You know, Mule is totally about the modules and connections, right? Basically about the connections, right? So if I'm able to explain one concept, how to connect with a database and how to fire a query in same fashion, other operations also can be performed. Please remember that part. Okay, so that you need to do from your end. But I will tell you here how to connect this MySQL with a your Mule application, and from your Mule application how you can fire a query. Before going to the Mule application, generally what for if it is MySQL, what is the query I can write, and from where I can write that query? Please tell me, guys. If I want to read the data, what is the query I can fire?
select query,
Hmm? Select one,
select query.
select in any language. Why, sorry, in any product it is the same query, right? Select.
Start from
Please participate, right? I hope everyone knows about the basic queries. Select start from
the database.
Mule Training DB dot represents a reference in that product table, right? So from where we will write this query? What is the platform we can use in order to fire write this query basically?
DB viewer.
hmm? I asked, when you are installing this MySQL, you need to remember, you need to ensure that two products are installed. What are those? One is backend server and one is front end
Workbench.
UI, which is nothing but workbench. Okay, workbench. It's a UI, user interface. Okay, so you write a query here. This query should be fired on this product table, which is running on the uh, yeah, what are the details I need to give if you want to connect with that? Some connection details to be provided, then only these two entities are established, the connection between these two entities are established. Let's take a, this is a connection, database connection. So what details I need to provide in the connection? Example, host, where this database is running. Next,
Port.
port number, on which port number it is running. Next,
Username.
username and a password. So host is, let's say it's a local host. Port number I used 3306. Username I used root. So basically I will configure these details in the workbench, and it will establish a connection between these two entities, right? Now in the query section, I will write this query: select star from mule training db.product. So it will fire a query on the product table, and in return it will give some response back to the workbench. What is the response? What will be the response? Quickly.
It will
All the
give all the
What
product
rows.
data.
huh?
All product data.
All product data in which format?
Rows and
JSON,
columns.
XML? It is a database concept, right? So again, the data will be in which format? Tabular format. Tabular format. All the details which are present in the server will be displayed under the product table again in a tabular format, isn't it? Right? Now, if you want to fire any type of a query, you can use the workbench. You can fire on that. If you want to insert some values, if you want to read the values, if you want to do any other operation, CURD operations, what you can perform in the database, all operations you can perform, right? So first we'll see how to use this workbench, and of course we required some data here. I know, I mean, in the batch we may have people who may not aware of a database concept also, right? So for them, uh, for for them, I have created one product table, and I have given you under the lab documents. If you go to the lab docs, in the lab docs, if you can see here, Mule Training DB SQL text file. Let me open this with the notepad. What is this query is about? Yeah, can anyone read what are the queries I have written here?
Create table.
Create
Create
database in
database.
Node.js. What is the database name? Mule Training DB, right? I'm going to use that Mule Training DB, right? Next,
Product
drop
table.
table if exist. What is the table? Already if it exists, drop the table product. Now I want to, because I want to create a table called product. So in that product table, I want to insert some rows and call. Sorry, basically I want to insert some table data with some columns. What are the columns here? One is product ID, one is brand name, description, name, offer price, offer valid until. So basically some column names I have given. For every column I have given some data type. So if you see, if you are aware of database queries, will it be the same query for all the database vendor? Oracle also, will it be the same?
Yes.
Will there be any difference when you are writing a queries?
No.
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 Anyone worked on Oracle database? Example, the when you write a data types, here may be big int, there integer or a number, right? So varchar, here may be varchar, there may be char. Okay, in the data types format we may see the differences between the product to product, but I mean, the query what you are writing is similar across the, because all these vendors are using a RDBMS, that means SQL query language basically, right? Will follow the same, right? So what is the difference between SQL and MySQL then? SQL and MySQL?
SQL is a query language, but MySQL is a database.
Database, right? I know it's a very silly question, but still I want to clear some minds who are not from the database background. So SQL is a language and MySQL is a product, right? Like Oracle DB, Postgres, or any other database product. Okay, so now I want to fire all these queries where in the database, in the my mule training DB database, under the product table I want to create, and I want to insert the values. So I already installed the workbench also, and the server I already shown you in the backend my server is running. So how to check? Go to the search option and type for workbench. If it is already installed, it will be shown here. Use that, and I already pinged to my taskbar. Let me open that from the taskbar itself. So if you want, this is the welcome screen of your editor. We can call this MySQL Workbench as an editor also. If you're using MySQL, any other editor you can use. Can I use SQL Yog? I can use. If you're using Oracle database, what is editor we use? SQL Developer, right? Like that, every vendor, every product is having their own editor. So you can use a command prompt also for that matters. So now this is my workbench. Now I'm going to establish a connection with a database which I am running on my machine with this editor. So by using this plus sign, you can give any name. I'm just giving a CP7AM. Port number is 3306 I can use. Username is root. Password also I will use as root. Test connection. If it's already running in my machine, successfully made the SQL connection. Right? That's it. Click on OK. Already created. Just open that by clicking on that 7 a.m. Just click on that. It will start. Okay. So let me drop it. Already exist. So once you open this workbench and under your workspace, you can see these are the system accounts, and this is the place where we can write a queries, and you can see the output as well. What are the queries you fired, whether it is success or not, you can see in the action output section. Okay. So now you can write a single query and you can execute that, or else you just copy all the commands, whatever I have given to you, and put it in the workbench. See here, create database if not exist. If you want to execute only this, you can select and you can click on execute option. Otherwise, if you want to execute all the queries in one by one, just simply click on a execute option. It will be executed, right? So let me click on execute option. What is the action output? Drop database mule training echo, it is affected. Create database, it is affected. Used mule training db affected, and drop table if not exist affected, right? So but are you able to see the schema under the schema section? I had created one schema, right? Mule training db schema. Are you able to see that? No, right? You need to refresh that. You need to refresh that. Okay. So under the mule training db schema, you can see a table. If you expand the table, there is a table called product. So I need to fire a query. What are the I mean, basically after creating a table, I think I not inserted the values. Let me insert the values also. I already given this query also. Mistakenly I removed that earlier. So now I want to fire this query. Okay. So I just selected that part and execute that option. Insert into product values so and so. But I want to check whether those values are inserted into the product table or not. So what is the query? What is the query? Select star from. You can write the query like this, or else if you go to the shortcut option here, it will fire a query. Select star from mule training db dot product. So am I able to insert the values? Yes or no in the database? So I have some data behind the scenes in my product table. By using workbench, I inserted the values. Now I will use my mule application here. Same. how my workbench is used. Similar way, I want to replace my workbench with the my mule application. So your mule application is a REST application. Okay, so the requirement is given when you are sending a request like get method slash db. He want to get all the product details from the mule training db product table. Okay, that is a request. So your mule application is also running on a local host. 8081 is the port number. Okay, so what is the first step I need to write in my mule application? This is your mule application. Quickly, it's a mule flow. What is the first component I need to configure?
Listener.
Listener.
HTTP listener. Okay, listen for the request, converts into mule event. So what is the structure of an event? It's an empty event because I don't have any query parameter or any other input attributes here. It's a query, it's an input. Next, what is the next step?
D- database connection.
I need to add database module to the project as a dependency. There, every operation is given as a connector. So you can use any operation as a connector there. Okay, for example, I added database module as a dependency. Under that, I want to use a select operation. So let's take, I'm drag and dropping the select operation here. Okay, so by using a plus sign, by using a plus sign, we can establish a connection. So what are the details I require to give in order to establish a connection? Same, you need to create one connection. And one more thing, all your database actually SQL query is written by using a Java language again, right? So we required what driver? JDBC driver is required. Java database connector is required. Related to which version are you are using? So I'm using 8.0.19, right? So I required to configure in the connection. I required to configure a 8.0.19 related JDBC driver. Okay, explicitly MuleSoft supports four major vendors, and your Mule projects are Maven projects. Just if you configure the dependency, automatically it will fetch the drivers from the repository as well. If you are using any other database apart from Oracle, apart from Microsoft SQL, apart from MySQL, apart from Derby, if you're using apart from these four any other database, you need to have your own JDBC driver to be configured from your local system, right? Or it's from anywhere. But if you are using any out of these four, I'm using MySQL, right? So in the connection level, I need to configure dependency. Which dependency? MySQL JDBC driver dependency, right? So if you are configuring dependency here with 8.0.17 or 19, the JDBC driver will be loaded into the connection. Once the JDBC driver is loaded, then you need to give the common connection details for this project level. So what are the connection details? Host, port, user, and a password. These details to be configured in the connection level. Okay, so that connection can be used across the project. So right now I'm using for the select operation. Assume your connection is established, then select is an operation where we can fire a queries. What queries? What type of queries? So for example, the same query, select star from. So I will fire a query, select star from mule training db dot product. Some query fired. Okay, now tell me what is the structure of an event after this select query?
Payload will be there. Empty attribute, empty variable.
Empty attributes, empty variables. Very good. And
Payload
The
will be.
payload. What is the payload?
output of select star, all the product data.
Which format?
XML.
How come? Why XML?
Oh, it's a REST, right? So JSON.
By default, like not consume connector is giving the output in a, I mean, key value pair format. But here select operation is giving the output not in the set that format. It is giving in some other format. What is it? Raw content from the database. Which format it will be?
CSV.
tabular format. The response from the select operation will be in a, actually it is connecting to the database, right? The database, whatever the data we give, it is giving in the tabular format. But your mule application, when the event is sent back to the listener is unable to give that response to the client in a tabular format. Reason? Reason? My
Mule is error.
HTTP response is not able to understand the tabular format first of all. So before giving the output to the listener, what I should do? I should do the
Transform.
transformation. So finally, whatever the format, is it a payload? It's a payload, right? I want to convert that payload into JSON format. So whatever the payload you are getting as an input, I want to convert that into a JSON format. So finally, what will be the structure of an event in that database? So in the flow, simple, right? We are converting into JSON. So payload will become what?
JSON.
JSON array. It will be a JSON array because in a table, every row will be considered as a record. Agree? Record.
Yes. Yeah.
Every record is nothing but an
Object.
object. So when I get a list of objects, can I say it's an array of object? Yeah. So what type of it's an array? It's a JSON array. That response will be given to the client. Let's see what response it will give, what error it will throw without using a transformations and all. Quickly create. Zero 06 db. Okay. Or else I will write. And I'll create one project here. New mule project. Project name I will give as 01 database endpoint start project. Okay. Okay. Now, first I will configure HTTP listener. I think you already know about this. Slash db is the endpoint. Next, I need to add a module. From add module section, I will add database module to the project level. So here we have all this. Basically, every query is given as an operation. That means as a connector, right? So I'm using a select query here. So same, if you're using any other operation also, let's see what are the select operation is having here. One second, let me open that. Here you have a plus sign to establish a connection. And let's go to the delete. Randomly I picked one connector. Here also you'll be having the same type of a connection. So if you are using any other connection also, any other operation also will be the same, right? So we can use any other operation in order to establish a connection. The same connection can be used across the project. So you need to have some query knowledge, how to fire a queries on the database. So select, let's click on a plus sign. Yeah, which database you're using? As I told, Derby, Microsoft SQL, MySQL, and Oracle. That will be given by the MuleSoft itself. If you're using any other, you should go with the generic connection. There you need to configure the JDBC driver URL where it is present and all. If you are using any other, let's go with the MySQL. See, MySQL JDBC driver is required. Please add the required driver. So you need to configure that as a Maven dependency. Even if the driver is already present in your local, you can use the local files also for to add that. So I will go with the add Maven dependency. So is it a way to add a dependency in the pom.xml file, right? So by default it will be given. The latest one is 8.0.30 as per my MuleSoft, my AnyPoint Studio knows. But actually the latest version in the market is 8.0.33. Okay, you can use any. I'm going with the 1.9. Okay, let's take my installation I have run long back. It is 19. It is everything is same here. Okay, so let's click on finish. Once it is added, okay, once it is added, it will be shown in the green color. Let me show you one more point. Remove. You can modify the Maven dependency, or you can remove the Maven dependency as well. Okay, if you want to install from the local, you can use the install option and you can drive for the file. Okay, basically in the MySQL there is one jar file that basically that is the main file actually. Okay, it's looking for, you can give the location of the jar file also. Okay, in your browser by using this browse option you can load that as well. So any option is same. The simple option is just configure this as a dependency, automatically it will fetch. Okay, now I have given a MySQL 8.0.19 as a version, dependency version. What is the host?
Localhost.
Localhost, port number, username, password, root, and database name. Mule training DB. Test the connection.
Sujit, one question here.
Mm, Tell
In
me.
actually in real in real time, we'll actually keep this username, password, or the host
Mm.
and all in encrypted format in some secure
Ask the
browser.
question in tomorrow. Please ask this question tomorrow. We are going to talk
Okay.
about that part also.
Yeah, I just want to confirm on that.
Yeah. But see, ideally this is not the option. Definitely knows. I mean, we cannot give username and password just like that in the application level, right? So I'm telling first how to establish a connection, then how to externalize this connection details. Once you externalize that, how you can encrypt and decrypt the values as well. Okay, how you can pass that values dynamically while runtime. Okay, so my
Okay,
test
thank
connection is successful. And what is the query I can fire? Select star from mule training db dot product. Is it required? Not required. Already I given the mule training db in my connection level. So directly I can write product. Right. So let's see what is the response it is going to give. So when is your holiday? I mean, festival holiday in the next week, 18th or 19th? When you want?
18th.
18th only, right? The festival is on 18th only, right?
Yes, it's on 18th.
Some areas it is 19th, some areas it is 18th. So according to the users, I want to go. Slash db. So what it says? Attempted to send invalid data through HTTP response. My HTTP response, the HTTP listener is not able to understand what response to be sent. What I can do in this case, I will use,
Crash
guys, are you
summons.
present? Other side, apart from one or two people, others present? Yes, Neeraj?
Yeah.
No response. Payload. Let's convert to JSON. So whatever the payload I'm getting, what is the payload I'm getting in the metadata? You can see array of objects. Correct? That array of object I'm converting into JSON. So if I save this application, what is the response you may get? Array of JSON objects. How many products total? Total 6 products I have. I should see the total 6 responses at client level. It is started, deployed. See, am I getting all the products here? Total 6 products in JSON
Yes.
format, right? So I'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll talk about more how to write one more query, and also uh, two more other concepts, important concepts also I'll discuss. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Bye. Thank you. And one more thing. Who are watching the recording also, I just want to tell. I don't know whether these sessions will go till that time or not. For 27th, I will not be available for 4 days. Since there's a very long weekend, everyone knows about that. From 27th, I will not be there for 4 days till Monday. So I just want to update upfront. We'll see before the session if I take any additional classes, if I can complete or not. Yeah, in case if it all extended till that date, I'll not be there in these 4 days. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now so if it is a triggering point to you guys, since a long weekend who are in India, you can also plan. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Rich.
Sujit.
Thanks, Sujat. Bye.